Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. India have won their second test match in Visakhapatnam by 106 runs and the series stands 1-0 going into the third test match. On the 11s of both sides starting off with England, there was a rumour floating around before the game that they could go with an all-spin attack. As I'd said in my previous video, it would have been the wrong decision. And I'd also said if Jack Leach wasn't able to take the field for this game, then I have no choice but to go with a sole seamer. And that seamer luckily was James Anderson. He should have played the first game. I said he would have done well, especially in the first two tests, considering where those games are being played, and he did very well in this game, expectedly so. So I thought the selection of the playing 11 was satisfactory overall. And in India, a couple of confusions. I'm not saying Rajat Patidar's inclusion was a bad one. He's batted at number 3 for the India A side. He's been in very good form in domestic cricket. Shubman Gill will be batting at 3 in the side. And so one thing I didn't understand was that Shreyas Iyer bats at 5 in this test match side. He was promoted to number 4, then Patidar bats at 5, 2 positions lower than where he has been batting in domestic cricket. So I didn't think that was necessary. Even if they played Patidar at 4 and Shreyas at 5, it would have been more feasible. And his inclusion, I understand the fact that if you consider they called him up to the squad before Sarfraz Khan and that's why they played him, I don't mind. But Sarfraz Khan has been batting at number 4. We know what he's been doing. If you were thinking, I don't know why they changed the lineup even then, but if you're looking to get a more like-for-like number 4 based on where they've been batting in domestic cricket, Sarfraz Khan 4, Shubman Gill 3 and Shreyas Iyer 5, I mean, you wouldn't have had to change things. But instead they muddled the lineup. I didn't get that. And on a selection, which I couldn't believe it when I saw his name in the playing 11, that was that I'd said in both previous videos, considering the services on offer in both Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam, Mukesh Kumar and Avesh Khan would not be eligible for selection. And I'd even said before the first test that looking at the squad selected for the first 2 test matches, I'd said that Bumrah, and I'd still say Bumrah does not need to play a home test because India don't need him to win at home. They shouldn't need him to win at home. And Siraj wasn't, in my view, going to be as successful on the services on offer in the first 2 games. But they couldn't drop those 2 if they wanted to play 2 seamers because you've got Mukesh Kumar and Avesh Khan on the bench who won't do well on these services. So I thought they'd play Kuldeep Yadav ahead of Siraj. They played Kuldeep Yadav and then they played Mukesh Kumar, which I completely don't understand. And I'd said in the aftermath of the first game that I didn't think the management would understand the proceedings that took place in the first game, and this inclusion, I didn't expect this inclusion. As for England, there was a rumour they could play an all-spin attack. For India, there was a rumour that Kuldeep could play as another spinner, and that was a good thing. I thought he should have played as another spinner. He did play, but Mukesh Kumar on the side, it made no sense to me. And Rohit Sharma won the toss, chose to bat first. It was a good toss to win. On the first session, the Indian openers put on 40 runs with the first wicket. And what I liked about this partnership was that expectedly Anderson kept the runs down whenever he bowled in this test match. Rohit Sharma was absorbing the pressure on one end where especially Jaiswal were taking boundaries off the spinners, especially when Joe Root was bowling from the second over onwards. India got to 40 without loss after 17.2 overs, but Rohit Sharma was dismissed by the debutant Shoaib Bashir. And I thought it was a disappointing dismissal because he would have known the catching fielder was there. It was a very soft dismissal. It was a bit like catching practice. And given the record he's got on this ground and how we saw the England bowlers go, apart from James Anderson, no one could control the flow of runs as much. So I thought Rohit Sharma, after getting set, he could have gone on to make a big one on the ground that he's had success on, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, and outwalked the under-fire Shubman Gill. And I thought he went well in the first innings. He was going at a good rate, playing some nice drives. And as has been the theme thus far in the series, the Indian batsmen throwing their wickets away. And you may think, right, because of the 4 deliveries prior, that was what created the dismissal. But the ball didn't do too much. The one that he poked at and he was caught at slip. And he would have been disappointed to throw away a start where he was batting well. So England had got a second wicket late on in the first session, and India were 103 for 2 at lunch, and I thought they were ahead even though they'd gifted a couple of wickets. Now in the second session, that was when India really began to establish their advantage, where Jaiswal until his first 123 deliveries had yielded 63 runs, a good balance between attack and defense. He then hit a 6-over extra cover off a spinner and then proceeded to score almost a run a ball. Rajat Patidar started off briskly, 21 off 30, then slowed down a bit. But in this session, only one wicket was lost, that of Rajat Patidar for 32. India were 225 for 3 at tea in a commanding position. And at this point, Jaiswal was really beginning to explode. And I thought from England point of view, Joe Root was firing the ball in a lot. And we know how good of a player Spain Jaiswal is. I said it'd be a threat going into this series. And it seemed like they were out of answers when he was going so well. And again, we saw late in the day on day one and maybe slightly earlier on in day two as well, where after you look at the other players on the scorecard, they all got starts. They threw it away. You got someone like Akshar Patel, but I thought he shouldn't have walked out at 6 anyway. Is he capable to bat at that position in this part of the world? Of course, but I would have sent Gais Bharat out as that key of batsman at number 6. They both tried. Akshar Patel played a kind of a nice balance innings, but tried to get on with things, but both of them threw their wickets away. And really, what should have been 336 for 4 with 336 for 6, and England would have been thinking, right, if you're considering the way we bowled in general, that we couldn't really keep the opposition in check, and we've got 6 wickets, it's probably a bit of a bonus. And the second day, I thought India needed at least about 400 odd. They should have got that considering how they were going. They got 396 in the end, Ashwin scoring a 20, and Jaiswal was dismissed for a magnificent 209. And the shot that he was dismissed for was the only one where he offered an opportunity to England. I thought maybe you could say the one that went past Joe Root when he was in the 60s, but I think 60s or 70s, but I thought that was fairly a tough chance. This is the only one where he tried to go gung-ho, and in the end he gifted his wicket because he thought that was the only option. So a fantastic innings from him. I expected him to go well in this innings, and especially against this attack on a surface where especially in the earlier days, it'd be very good to bat on. He did well and he showed his. On the England bowling figures, James Anderson expectedly went as well as he did in this first innings, 3 for 47 in 25 overs, where when the scoring rate was just over 3.5 across the innings, he went at less than 2 and over and picked up 3 wickets. It was an outstanding effort. Apart from him, the others couldn't quite control the flow of runs, where I thought the 2 inexperienced spinners, Shoaib Bashir and Rehan Ahmed, went okay in this innings. Bashir, he's got a decent action and he bowls at decent pace. At times he bowled in the mid-90s. Even though the 3 wickets may have been veering towards the Indian batsman, gifting the wickets away, I thought he could be reasonably happy with his first outing in India and in his first test match as well. There was some talk as to why they'd gone with him when I think he averaged a 67 in the county circuit, but they picked on attributes, and I saw in this game that, especially in that first innings, that he had the potential to be a decent bowler. And Rehan Anderson getting better as he's been bowling on the source of both those spinners, got 3 wickets apiece. Tom Hartley unfortunately wasn't as effective in this innings, 1 for 74 and 18. And like I said, Joe Root for some reason was firing the ball around the leg stump at times, especially towards the end of the second session and in the third session as well, and he was going for 71 in his 14 overs. So only Anderson was a bowler who was controlling the runs and picked up those 3 wickets. And this is the reason why I said in the preview of the first test, I'd said I would have gone with Anderson and Robinson to play as 2 controlling seamers that can extract reverse swing on offer. And since they won that game and they were looking to go for one seamer and the other and the spinners as well, they didn't have room to play someone like Robinson. The only player who could have made bay was Rehan Ahmed, and even though he's been getting wickets, he's been expensive, and that's why, especially when someone like Jaiswal goes on a roll, unfortunately, they didn't have that second bowler to play the role that Anderson was playing. In England's subsequent batting innings, from Indian perspective, we unfortunately saw that Mukesh Kumar playing this game, that selection was a huge flaw. And this isn't me criticizing the player because of what he did. I'm more so criticizing the management, because if you assess the attributes of the player correctly, then you'd realize that on these types of services he would not go well, and you saw how he went in this game. The England openers once again go off to a fast start, 59 without loss after 10 overs before the first wicket for Kuldeep Yadav dismissing Ben Duckett. Now, before I went on to what happened, if I was in the England camp, how I would think they should go about things is, you know what the opposition will do when you attack, they'll spread the field. And we saw how in the second innings of the first test, with 117 for 3, they knew that gung-ho approach wasn't going to work, so they switched to being busy at the crease or maintaining 4 and over, and that's how they got back into that game. So if you attack first up, you know they'll put the fielders back, and then you switch to play or to be busy at the crease and still maintain that rate, or frustrate the opposition. And it's a case where you're going to pick off boundaries at times while getting singles since the fielders are spread out. In this innings, they weren't allowed to do that because of a tremendous performance from Jaiswal Bumrah. 6 for 45 in this first innings, where the aftermath of the Ollie Pope delivery, where a couple of stumps were uprooted, has been circulating in social media, and rightly so. But as an Indian cricket fan, as someone that has viewed home tests for a number of years, I look at this moment more of a poignant one, where when these kind of teams tour India, you expect the spinners in these conditions to run through the side, yet you're relying on someone who, I'll say this again, I wouldn't play him for a single home test to manage his workload. You've got players like Shami, who's injured now, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Umesh Yadav doing so well. You don't need to play Jaiswal Bumrah to win at home. And that's why I don't think he needs to play a single home test. But in this case, he's the player who's making things happen, which once again highlights the defensive capacity. Yes, and the spinners hit their lengths as well as they would have liked to know they have in the series thus far. However, you've seen some of the field placement. You saw that in the second innings of the first test, and some in the first innings as well, where the defensive field placements isn't helping the spinners when they want to put pressure. So you've got a Bumrah who you want to manage his workload as well. You've got a lot of cricket coming up. Is he going to play the T20 World Cup at this rate? Even though they rightfully said they'll be looking to rest him for the third test. But if you keep on employing these defensive tactics, the only bowler that can make things happen will be Bumrah, and we know that he isn't too far away from an injury. So that's why I feel relying on him to make things happen, and you've got these world-class spinners, and it shows that they haven't hit their lengths, and the captaincy has been far too defensive. So I feel it's a poignant moment in Indian cricket where the home series, like I've said before, is a pride for every Indian fan and a player, and the fact that you're not demoralizing the opposition and running through them and relying on things to happen, it's a bit sad. On the third innings of this game, before I go on to the negatives, as I said in my previous video, the reason why I was veering towards leaving out Shubman Gill for this game wasn't because I thought he should be dropped from the setup. Like I said in my previous video, I think he'll be a superstar. However, looking at his body language after being dismissed in recent times, I thought it would benefit him and Indian cricket if he was given a break for a while so he could return and be the player that we have seen him be in the ODI format and at times when he's played Test cricket as well. He was looking good in the first innings, unfortunately couldn't go on to get that big score. But especially since India were 30 for 2, where they were still ahead in the game, but both the openers had been dismissed early on in day 3. He played a fantastic knocker of 104. He had a bit of luck early on, but he deserved that luck, and this truly was a great innings. So, even though I was veering towards leaving him out for this game, I'm very happy that he's got the runs, and like I said, there was no case, there wouldn't have been a case where I would have said he should be dropped from the setup because he's far too good of a player for that to happen. And him and Shreyas Iyer took India to 111 for 3 when Shreyas Iyer was dismissed, once again throwing his wicket away. He has a good catch from Ben Stokes, but there's twice in this game when Shreyas Iyer, after looking good, threw his wicket away. And then I think 122 for 4 as well when Patidar was dismissed. And then you've got Gill and Akshar Patel to take them to that score, 211. So they dug India out of trouble. If you look at the particular innings, I wouldn't say based on the match situation. And you're 211 for 4, where there's not too much pressure on you at all. And once again, you're looking at the dismissals. Where look at the England bowling card here. Apart from Anderson picking up the openers, Shoaib Bashir picking up Shubman Gill while he's trying to play a reverse sweep. Rehan Ahmed's 3 wickets. Patidar in both innings weren't too much the dismissals to write home about. Then you've got Shikhar Bhatt pulling a drag down straight to the field and Ashwin at the end. So really not too much to write home about there in terms of the quality of wickets. And then Tom Hartley, his 4 wickets. Those are, I think, Shreyas Iyer throwing his wicket away. Then you've got Akshar Patel going on the back foot, where you saw Patidar and Akshar doing that in the innings, where I wouldn't expect Indian players to do that. And then you've got Kuldeep Yadav and Jaiswal Bumrah. So those 4 wickets, once again, not too much to write home about. So the only player that's really got any kind of wickets where he has presented the challenges to the opposition is James Anderson. And like we have seen in the other innings, you're throwing your wickets away to lose 6 for 44 to be dismissed to 265. India still had quite a bit of the upper hand going into the 4th innings, but I thought once again they squandered a situation where they could have gone on to demoralize the opposition. And finally on the chase, like I said a couple of segments ago, I thought England should have attacked early on and then relied on the field being spread, which we saw once again a 50-run opening stand until Ben Duckett was dismissed by Ravichandran Ashwin. And then the night watchman came out to bat, and then early on day 4 as well, you then saw they'll continue to see that counter-attacking play. And Zach Crowley, once again, in innings where what I liked about this innings even more was where, compared to the previous innings where he struck almost a runner ball, he struck at 55 in this innings, a mixture of attack and defense. And it's a case where the others were, I'm not saying it was a correct approach, the others were looking to go only at one gate where he was playing that double gate innings. There should have been a few others who should have played that role as well. That would have frustrated India and this game could have gone closer. Instead, you see someone like a Joe Root who I think picked up a finger injury in the 2nd innings, where he was looking to go gung-ho from the start, 16 off 10, and plays an uncharacteristic shot to be dismissed. You saw some more dismissals where they were trying to go for it, and unfortunately it didn't work out for them. So I thought Zach Crowley played a very good innings, where I think a combination of what he did in the 1st innings and in this one shows how much he's improved as a player of late. And with all the talk about this philosophy, and I'll get to that in just a moment, but I think to play 2 versatile innings in the same game, I think he's had a very good test match. And on this philosophy, I'd said in the 2nd innings of the previous test, people were calling this Bazball when it was not. They knew that approach wouldn't work, so they were busy at the crease and maintained 4 and over, and that's why they got back into the game. In this case, what we saw today, or what we saw in this innings, was Bazball. Instead of slowing down and milking the ball for singles since the field was spread, what do? Joe Root plays that kind of a shot, and some other dismissals weren't too great as well. And the moment they lost 4 wickets, when you're chasing that kind of a score, in these conditions, it's not going to work, even though they got a flurry of boundaries before, I think, nearing the end of the one of the sessions where Bumrah picked up 2 wickets. I think Johnny Bairstow was one of the players dismissed, and I can't remember which other one was there. But it's a case where, because of that passage of play where they were irresponsible, threw those wickets away, it derailed the chase, and that is why they lost this game. And that is Bazball, honestly speaking. I mean, if they had done that in the 2nd innings, then this would have honestly been 2 heavy defeats, and there would have been a different view on England's tour thus far. So that is on that. And on India, it's a case where yes, they won the game. It's good they won the game, but I'm still not happy with the win. It's a case where you're relying on someone who rightfully got the man of the match, yes, even though Jaiswal scored a fantastic double century. But if you're relying on Bumrah to make things happen when you're used to bulldozing teams at home, it's quite a sad sight compared to what we saw before. And I feel what the next game is in Rajkot, which it's only going to get better to bat. It's going to be quite a hard service if it plays out typically. And if Bumrah is rested for the next test match and you persist with these defensive tactics, anything can happen there. So even though India won this game, I'm not happy with the fact that the management are waiting for things to happen. I don't know whether Kohli, Rahul, or those players will return, but whoever plays India should have the side to beat anyone who tours. And the reason why they have been struggling is because of the fact that a combination of the spinners not hitting their length and the England bowlers, it's a bit of a sad state that the inexperienced England bowlers have outbowled the Indian spinners in this series thus far, and their tactics have been very defensive, and it's allowed England to maintain that belief. So if they maintain this, anything can happen in Rajkot. They've got to get their playing 11 right, and I don't think the tactics will change. Will give not only England but whoever tours, it would give them an opportunity to have belief against this Indian side. So that's on that. So I'd say good win, a win for India. It's 1-1 going to the next game, and yeah, let's see what can happen. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Share with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?